Today I will talk about a new line of shock absorbers we have. Once you start upgrading the speed of your bike, you might want to consider upgrading your shock absorbers. Even for people that don't upgrade the bike, they might still want to consider upgrading the shock absorbers because let's say you often drive with two people, having a stiff suspension can be very uncomfortable. Or if you drive for long distances, driving over potholes or bumps, it can be more comfortable this way. Now, as you can see, this shock absorber has two dimensions of adjustment. The top part, if you adjust this is basically how fast the shock absorber will spring back once it has been compressed. So mainly this part of the shock absorber is responsible for making your shock absorber more comfortable, because if you were to adjust this top part to bounce back too quick, if you were to hit a large pothole, for example, it can be very uncomfortable. So by adjusting this top portion of the shock absorber, you can create your shock absorber to have, for example, a sofa effect, or it can also be called a floating boat type of effect, where once you do hit a pothole, it feels like there's a lot of absorption, almost like as if you're sitting on a couch. Now, the bottom part of the shock absorber is responsible for how much the shock absorber will decompress, basically how much it will go down. So if you were to set this to be soft, then the shock absorber will compress a lot, meaning that the way it feels is that it's similar to having a very soft shock absorber. Whereas if you put this to be harder, more stiff, then what it will do is that when the shock absorber is basically completely hard, meaning that there will not be any bounce back. Now, how can you adjust the shock absorber to your preference? If you often drive fast, you drive with two people, or you're heavy, then I would recommend for the bottom section of the shock absorber that you make this more stiff, because if you were to put this too soft, then what can happen is that when there's a lot of weight exerted on the shock absorber, it can start to hit its maximum length, meaning that it will bottom out on the bottom, resulting in a clanking sound. If you often drive by yourself or you're simply just cruising, then you can set this to be softer. Now, for the top part of the shock absorber, this is down for your personal preference. If you would like to feel less of the road, meaning that if you drive over a bump, you would like to have a couch effect, then you put this to be for slower absorption. But if you want it to be harder, then you can also adjust it to your preference. Okay, so here's how you remove your shock absorbers. It's quite easy. And then you just remove the top part and the shock absorber comes right off. Now you can put your new shock absorber in. So if you think your current shock absorber is too short, then it can be interesting to consider upgrading your rear arm. A rear arm that is adjustable has the benefit of that it can fit different lengths of shock absorbers on the rear arm, and the benefit of upgrading your rear arm is that the original scooter rear arm can be rather light, and upgrading to a heavier rear arm has the benefit in the fact that it will be more stable when driving over bumps. You can notice that, for example, if you were to drive a Neo N series and you were to go over a pothole, it is a lot more comfortable to drive over a pothole on a larger Neo scooter model than it is, for example, on a smaller scooter model like the U1. Also, by starting to upgrade your rear arm and putting a larger shock absorber, this will allow you to also adjust the height of your scooter depending on what you like. Maybe you think, for example, the UQI, the seat is a bit too low. You can put a larger shock absorber on it, which will make the back of the scooter higher. This is more suitable for if you are, for example, a tall person driving on a UQi might be a bit uncomfortable because don't have as much space. And that is about everything you need to know about upgrading your rear arm and rear shock absorbers. If you would like to buy shock absorbers for your scooter, you can just message us, because we will know what type of shock absorber will fit your bike, what length, and we will have shock absorbers available that will be completely suited for your bike. If you want to upgrade your rear arm, you can also send us a message so we can pick the best looking rear arm for you, but also one that is most suitable for your scooter, so that there will not be any troubles installing the rear arm or rear shock absorbers for your bike.